Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I'm back. It's Sunday, November 6th, 2022. I hope everybody had a wonderful Halloween if you celebrate. I don't have anybody who's purchased a reading yet, so I might just chat. Throw out some general reads out there if you really want them. Not personal ones, but ask about what's going on in the world. Let's see what's going on with me. I got to do that. Hang on, I just want to see if anybody's purchased a reading. Nothing yet. If you're somebody who's working on manifesting, let me know. Say hi in the chat. Let me know you're here. If you're somebody who works on, hi, Devery, who works on manifesting, I kind of want to talk about how that shows up, how you put out the affirmation out there, or you burn the desire. Some people do that when they do like with the full moon burn or whatever. How does that end up showing up? So it's not like it magically just happens. What I believe happens is your brain, once you decide on something and really kind of put it out there, your brain starts to put that into like, oh, like I'm going to pay attention and filter for that. So one of the things I was looking at was like hormonally balanced, right? Because through my own research and stuff, I think I'm probably estrogen dominant. Because I'm a nerdy science person and I love researching stuff. So looking at like all these things came up then in my feed about, and I'm sure that I've seen them before about, how fiber clears extra hormones out of your body. It's not just about keeping your intestinal tract healthy. So I've been really looking at, instead of looking at my carb, like for macros, instead of looking at my carb, protein, fat, I look at my fiber, protein, and fat. Because fiber also fills you. So really, if I focus on the amount of fiber my intake is, I don't even have to pay attention to the carbs because it kind of just all falls into place. And I don't even really have to pay attention to the fat. Like that all falls into place. I just have to make sure I get enough protein. So like to my awareness, the MTHFR gene mutation thing came into my awareness and making sure that I'm getting all my vitamin Bs as a natural form instead of synthetic form. All these kind of exciting things, but it just pops up in your awareness. The other interesting thing happens when you are working on your self-concept and you're working on changing your belief systems around yourself, things do fall away. So relationships fall away and change. You don't necessarily change those people, but you do stop recognizing that, hey, they're not respecting my boundaries. Or hey, they're like not even like bare minimum. The things that I request for in relationships are not that out there. And I'm not talking romantic. I'm talking about just friendships, business, working relationships, etc. So anyway, I did my event this week. And one of the things I always have is a belief system I decided to work on and have as like a manifesting thing was that I always find street parking within either when I'm in, especially in Manhattan, 3 short blocks or one. You just donated to Shay. Okay. 3 short blocks or 1 city block. Like it's very close. So my event, the woman's house, the apartment that I was reading at was on 73rd and Park. And I found parking on between 73rd and 74th on Madison, which is like, and it's not a full city block over. So super close. And I left an hour and a half early, which should have been more than enough time. And I was texted her. I was like, I'm 5 minutes late because I was texted her from a light, not while I was driving. Oh, Regine, hello. Okay, so I have Regine and hi, Aura. How are you? I was just telling about I did this event and it went really, really well. And I found clothes that were soft and cozy that I could hang out in, but looked professional. And then Shayabish. So I was comfortable, but y'all, this is funny. And I want to say this because I just like to reveal embarrassing moments. So I have this one nail and not to flip you off, but it's this one nail. And my nails used to be really brittle and it split vertically. And so I keep it super, super short because I'm trying to get it to grow out. And I think I'm just there, but I was like, well, and I don't like fake nails. Hi, Joelle. I don't like fake nails because they tear up, like, meaning like the gel ones and all that, because they just aren't that great. They're kind of pretty hard on your nails when you take them off. And I've done it once. And plus I have contacts. And I cannot figure out for the life of me how people put contacts in and out with nails, because when the one time I had them was around my wedding time, and I was like this, trying to like, because I was just like, how do you, because normally I just go boop and pop them out, right? Like nothing. I just couldn't figure it out. And so, and probably this is probably all I need to do, but I'm just so afraid anyway. So whatever. So like, I was like this, and that's just not practical. And then also I have in my head from nursing, like have all the bacteria and stuff that grows under nails. So anyway, I didn't have time to paint my own nails. And plus then I've got like Shorty McShorty here. So I was like, I'll get some press-on nails. Y'all, they have not gotten any better since the 80s when I was a little girl and wanted to wear them. Somewhere I saw on TikTok, someone was like, well, you can make those last 2 weeks. One of them popped off while I was driving there. So that's about 2 hours. And then this is like a fancy schmancy. The woman was so, so, so nice. And her friends were so very nice. Like they were not hoity-toity at all. Her house was fancy schmancy though. And it was like incredibly like lovely, very decorated, very nicely. And it made me feel happy in there. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like the colors, like everything made me feel happy. Some people's apartments make me feel sleepy and some people's make me feel on edge, or houses. But hers just, it felt very happy and light and airy. It felt very nice. And she was extremely nice. And her friends were all very nice. But it was funny because then like one popped off and I was like, oh God. And so like I ended up just taking them all off. And I like in front of one of the ladies, I was like, okay, so like, pardon this, but like, she was laughing at me. She was very nice. She was like, I get it. Don't even worry about it. So, but I got home and like the next morning I was like, I need to make sure that there's not this like ghetto fake nail. Shouldn't say ghetto, but like, trashy. I can say white trash though, because I'm white trash fake nail in her house. I should do a randoms questions night. I might. So maybe what I'll do it as, are you guys, any of y'all on TikTok? Maybe I'll do a random questions night. I'm trying to find, honestly, like I've just been really like burnt out. So I'm like, I don't know. So I like the idea of fake nails. I just like the idea of pretty nails, but I think they're just pretty on other people. And I'm just a little too, I don't know, awkward. But y'all, I can make a bed with a person in it. I can change the sheets with it. I can give you all kinds of tips and tricks for, if you have tattoos and you have to take off that derm stuff. I've seen people pull it off. I'm like, y'all are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You got to stretch it. You don't pull it. So maybe I'll do a lesson on that. Anyway, so I'll think about it. All right, Autumn. Okay, so Regine, if you're here, if you want to if you want to ask a question. I was just looking up online, by the way, for a commercial router, like a different router for like a gaming router or something like that. So I can get like whatever. My daughter was just like, but I'm not going to stay off Roblox for 2 hours. I was like, turn your Wi-Fi off. The day I discovered that I can turn Wi-Fi on and off from my phone to individual devices. Oh, I was right about that. So she was searching for, thank you. That was the one where I said, I thought like Alabama or something like that. Like it was out of state. It was somewhere further away. I love when I'm right, y'all. There's times I wish I wasn't right. In Alaska? Alabama, and Alaska. I'll take it. I'll take it. Where do I see you moving to? Are we okay? I'm like, so this is where my 20 questions come in, because this is what happens. Because you're like, where do you see me moving to? I'm like, well, that's the whole damn world that you're leaving open with that question. Okay. Lower 48 for sure. So then I do quadrants or sections. I figure out a way to section it off and figure out where they're pulling me. Not West Coast. I'm going to look at a map because this looks jumbled to me. Do you care that I look at a map? Please don't think that I'm skirting on this, but they don't show me it necessarily broken in states. Sometimes they just show me in the geographic location, like what the geography looks around it. And that's not helpful. It's weird that I'm going to say this because honestly, when I'm looking at it logically, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense for you. Like, I don't see the fit there, but this is where they're plopping you. So it's in the region of where Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina come together. There's like, so I don't know. It would, like, there's that little region, like if you were to draw like a little circle somewhere in that area. Like, it doesn't make sense why I would lean more towards Kentucky, because you don't feel like a Kentucky person to me. Like Virginia, maybe you're living in one and working in the other. Or Virginia. You love Florida. I don't feel Florida. Like, I actually don't even feel anywhere near coastline, but I feel like more inland. And more mountainous. And I don't want to say Florida's not habitable, but I feel like long term, it just feels like getting more land for your money and like really getting like liking the four seasons. Moving or just visiting, Regine, for the Caribbean? I feel like four seasons, not, Florida's like hot and hotter, swamp and swampier seasons, kind of like Houston, swamp, swampy. Those are the seasons you get. Oh, living back and forth? No. So to me, living back and forth means like at least 4 months out of the year being in one place or the other. And I don't feel that, but I do feel like vacationing, like take maybe 2 weeks here or there, doing a couple times, but not like a huge stretch. Maybe having like I don't know, what do they call them? Timeshare. Which I don't know that those are really like a good investment. I got to be honest. Please like, share, and subscribe with your friends. Autumn, every time I look at your last name, I just think, oh, I won't say what your last name is, but I just think, oh, Harry Potter. But your last name's not Potter. I just would like to say that. You found out his name. You're welcome, Regine. Shayavish, if you want to go. I don't think I'm saying that right. I'm trying. And then Autumn. Okay, Aura. So first, I'll look at it whether she is or not, but do you know how to protect yourself from someone if you believe in that stuff? Because if you believe in that, then that leaves you open to receiving. I decided, hold on. So, okay, so I want to tell you this really quick because this is like a little like this is my so when I do readings, I connect with somebody's energy. My hands tell me a lot, like when I get to the energy in the hands and how I feel. This is always how I feel receiving from the universe. This is how I feel you give. So if you're wearing protective bracelets or anything like that, so no, black tourmaline, labradorite, Amazonite, and this is carnelian. And I realized I should be wearing my carnelian on my right hand because that's to help you with your fear of being seen. And so I was like, oh, I need that to go out to the world of like, like that I'm fearless, whatever. Okay, so wear a protective bracelet. I forgot there's something I bought with it that someone was talking about, but you can buy beads, you can also little herbs and stuff with it, which I don't know. So I just write it like a manifestation, like I send them a mirror for the universe to show them basically so that their behavior that they send out comes back to them and is reflected to them and everybody around them. So they have to look at who they are. So no, I don't feel like she has great intentions towards you. Like I don't feel like they're nice or friendly. I keep hearing like feeling like jealousy and projection, like projecting her own insecurities onto you. They're like, no, put it on the other one. I'm like, okay. Sorry, they're interrupting me. So also remember this. When someone is practicing magic, just because they're doing something doesn't mean that it actually gets performed. So you have to look at like, if you're open to it, then you're more susceptible to that stuff. Like if you're like, oh, I believe someone has power over me. I'm like, well, people could do shitty things all the time. Doesn't mean that they can send that to me because I'm like, fuck you very much. I'm very well protected. Not everybody has the nicest of intentions for me. There's a lot of not so nice people that I've had in my past. And most of that comes from insecurities in their own, like not having their own good self concept, right? So that they have this idea that somehow, I mean, I see it a lot with people actually. Like there's a lot of insecurities that are bred around in people that are just like festering. And also, it's okay to deliver karma. So when I say that, well, it's the universe deciding how much their punishment is or how much their need to see in the mirror is. You're just asking the universe to reflect that mirror. And that's okay. But just because somebody practices doesn't mean they're good at what they do. So the reason why I think I'm saying that is because I feel like she may throw a lot of magic out, but she's not hitting her target much. Because intention, because in belief, systems not being fully set and stuff like that. Look, you're not going to skate through life and have everybody think the best of you and have everybody have good intentions if you're true to yourself and if you're authentically you. It's not. Because people have insecurities and their insecurities cause them to do very funny things. And you think, oh, like if she's successful or whatever. Some of the most successful people I've met or read for are some of the most insecure people. It's the weirdest thing. Money, fame, success, whatever awards you have, whatever certifications or licenses you have, don't make you feel secure in yourself. They don't make you have confidence. You have to just build that on your own. And so, regardless of where that person is at in her life, Trinity is, I don't care if she's making bank and has a family and has kids and is married and whatever, that's not going to make her feel good about herself. She's got to find that within herself. And so if she sees somebody who's triggering her or who reflects to her her own insecurities because she's not there or she doesn't have, they're just like, she's caught up in low level energy. But that doesn't mean that it's going to hit. I mean, I could throw a ball all day long and I have decent form, but I always let go and my wrist may not flip the right way. And so it curves or does whatever. Insecurities don't make sense. They're not based on truths. Right? So what do we see a lot in clients, like especially like people around my age? A lot of women feel like they're having imposter syndrome, right? Well, I don't have enough credit behind me. I don't have enough years of experience, or I only have this degree, or I only have that, or I don't have a degree and I only have a certification, or I don't have a certification, I only have experience. Like, men don't get that. I don't think men ever get that. You see some of those guys walk out there with 6 months of experience and they like act like they own the world. Hi, Rushdan. Okay, Joel. It doesn't have to make sense. And you know what? If it made sense, then you would be in the same alignment energetically with her. It won't make sense if you're not in alignment energetically. So don't try to make it make sense. And dimming your light for somebody else so that they can feel better about themselves does not serve anybody. Because remember, being you and standing in who you are gives everybody else permission to do the same. Like, not even the same, but just go, oh, like, I mean, it's like I get nervous in my head, like, well, there's a million other readers out there. There's a million other people talking about manifesting and spiritual stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, why do I need to keep repeating myself? But then I listen to Joe Dispenza. I'm like, he repeats this shit all the time. Every fucking interview, he's saying basically the same thing. Get over it. So yeah, I kind of feel that, but I wouldn't put that. Like, that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, whatever. Yeah, Reverend, you can pay. I read it about Alessandro, Autumn. I just think there's a language barrier. I don't think he thinks you're weird. I just feel like there's a language barrier. And again, I still think it's that thing where it's like also a cultural difference, like how people communicate culturally is sort of like we're different. And even within the United States, people from different regions of the United States communicate differently. And like you've heard that saying, like where like, oh, people from the East Coast are kind, but they're not nice. And people from the West Coast are nice, but they're not kind. Or even people from the South, like I used to joke that like, yeah, they'd be smiling at you while they turn that knife in your back. Like every region has a different thing. I like the East Coast because everybody's a bit more direct, even though I'm still pretty direct for I really think I'm on the spectrum, y'all. It like just doesn't stop. I was talking with a woman on Thursday morning. We were having breakfast and we were talking about our kids. And then I was talking to her about that. And she's like, so I was like, I never really thought of myself as being a black and white thinker, but I kind of am. But nursing really worked well for me because there's so many policies and procedures that I'm really good at following rules. And I'm really good at making sure they're followed. And there was a kid in a room of like 4 kids because it was a long-term care facility. And one of the girls was there, I think for respite or something for her family. But she had something where she just had physical disabilities, like, but her brain was she was fully cognitively awake, aware, able to communicate, smart kid, sweet kid. But like the room was on isolation, but only because one of the kids had a respiratory thing with droplet precautions. If you know droplet precautions, this is 3 feet outside of the bed, basically, because if you're in a bed. So she could have easily come in and out of the room without even breaching that 3 feet. And I was like, why is she on isolation? She should be like, because she was like stuck then, though, like watching TV, like she had nothing to do. And I was like, she is like she's a social, active kid. She needs to be out. And like, they didn't like me for that because I was like, this is ridiculous. This is that like, look, 3 feet. And I'm like measuring. I'm the annoying one. So like, and there's other things where I like when people apologize, like I teach my kids, like you should say, I forgive you instead of that's okay. Because that's okay means like in my head, which is sort of black and white, like, oh, it's okay for you to treat me that way. And like, I'm like, don't say that. I'm a little original. Anyway, okay, sorry. Is he into you though? I don't get the feeling that he's like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like he's trying to figure out, just navigate the whole change of being in a totally different culture. Do I think something could change? Yeah, but I feel like you need to like, this is one of those ones where you sort of just have to like, this, I don't like, they're just making me feel like he needs like space and time and sort of like not to say you're being a predator, but they're like, just relax and like get to know him is the feeling I get. Cause I feel like he just feels really like, imagine going to a foreign country and even if you speak the language, it's still your second language. So there's still like colloquialisms and things that are just like subtly different. And the United States is very much like this. And when you go to other countries, like when I went to Spain, they were like, oh, so you know Michael Jordan? And this was when I was in high school. I was like, no, because I went to high school in Wisconsin and college in Wisconsin, and like, you know, Chicago was close to there, whatever. I was like, no, like they think that you just like, they don't understand. And you can see people from Europe who come here and they're like, there's like no concept of how big the United States is and how like when we say we're from a certain state or whatever, it's because culturally there's just so many difference. Like New York and Jersey, even though they're similar, they're still sort of different. So you're not even sure you're into him? Okay, so get to know him and see if you're into him. Figure out what that is. Different when you're looking at your intuition, because high alert is like really subjective kind of thing. Like, I don't know what that means. If that means your high alert interest is peaked, or high alert, like scary, run away, because then I'd be like, why are you into him? Because high alert to me means like, get ready, fight or flight, fight or flight. Like that doesn't feel like, ooh, I'm intrigued. Your intuition is such a beautiful thing and we don't listen to it enough. So what do I mean by this? Like, listen to how it feels in your body. Like, pay attention to it. Like, does your stomach get really tight? Or do you feel like you kind of clam up? Those are like not great things. But when I feel into his energy, I just keep feeling the sense of like trying to get my bearings on the land I'm in. He can't make you self-conscious. Only you can be self-conscious on your own. So whatever he's reflecting is reflecting your own insecurities. He is Italian, Joelle. I love when you guys come back, because a lot of you guys come back over and over. And so like you get to be a part of the story. You get to see where it goes. Okay. Anxiety is nagging, consistent, persistent, over and over, can't stop thinking about it, can't stop worrying about it. This is your ego. Like, what if, oh my God, like this, like hamster wheel kind of thoughts. Intuition is quick. Sis, it's gone. It's like why I'm doing readings. I'm like, what was I saying? Like, oh wait, what was I? You're like 5 minutes later, someone's like, oh, can you remember what you said? I'm like, no, what was I saying? That's intuition. Intuition is very quick. It's very subtle. No, even if it's like negative information, it's still like, okay. There's not like this, I'm not like on edge, ready to fight. So examples of that, I've a couple times in the car, like one time I was driving behind a truck that had like a piece of wood. I don't know what you call it. It's not a 2x4. It was like, you know, maybe 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch plywood. That's it. That's what it is. Just like, and this is in Texas. So, you know, things are a little weird in Texas, but it was like, just like not really strapped down with at all in the back of a small pickup truck. And I just had the image of flying off the back of a car or back of his truck. And it did. And thankfully I had slowed down enough, or I did something where I altered my pattern. I don't remember what it was, but it like flew off and it flew on the highway and I didn't hit it. But I was like, had I maintained that speed, but it was really calm when I got it. The other one was like, my guys were like, you're going to fly off the highway. You're going to hit ice under the bridge and fly off the highway. And I was like, okay. I wasn't driving. My friend from college was driving. And we did. And I was like in this bubble. And I think this is the part where I think I have ADHD, where it's like, oh, I'm really calm. Like in emergencies, like the whole world starts to slow down. And anybody who has ADHD, they talk about that. And I've never heard anybody talk about that other than people with ADHD, where it's like emergency hits and you're just like, literally, I can see calm real clear. And I was like, well, don't oversteer. Like, but intuition is really calm. Sure. Yeah. And so the first code I had, didn't do so well. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? But after that, I got over it real quick. And I was like, oh, this is what we do. Yeah. Like I'm the one who's like, if it's not my patient coding, then I will go around to whoever and be like, what nurse? Because if people like from all over go to it. So I'm like, whose kids needs med? Who needs meds? Who needs this? Like to keep everybody on time and in their thing. Like I will go around and start doing that stuff. Like I just find ways to pitch in. And there's not everybody does that. Like I've seen people like panic and like basically sit in their spot and like don't know what to do. You can donate for another one. So let's see. So yeah, I would just say like your intuition is going to feel really calm, Autumn. So don't panic. Joelle, I didn't answer your question. Oh, look at some people. Okay. This is so weird. It's like half these weren't on here and now they are. Weird. Let me write this down. Sorry. Let's see. We did Regine's. We did Shay's. And Autumn. So then I've got Aura, Joelle, Steph, and Devery. And Recon. I'm just going on it based on the way my payments came through. Yeah, I know. I've got it. So here, let me update the list. And I'll tell you, I'm doing it in the order that they came in through the payment through PayPal. But it was weird because one of these that I just did actually came after the others, but it didn't show up originally that way. So it'll be Aura, Joelle, Steph, Devery, and Recon. It was funny when I was doing that event. First of all, the feedback, I don't tell people feedback enough or really specific examples because I feel like you guys let me in your energy and that's a really vulnerable place to be. And I don't feel like it's my place to be like, so I did this reading and I told this woman, blah, blah, blah. I try to be as private as possible, but I did get really good feedback from the woman who I did the event for. And she said it exceeded all expectations. So. All right, Miss Autumn, I'll check. Or if you want to ask your question. Okay. Give me a second. I'm just gonna. Okay. Okay, do you have, I'm asking as a question. I'm gonna explain exactly why I'm asking it because this is what I'm feeling. So I'm feeling and I don't know if this is literal or metaphorical when I'm feeling this. This is what I'm telling you, or symbolic, if you will. I don't feel like I can fully breathe deeply. It feels like my heart chakra is completely like I'm not there. My solar plexus feels so tight. And I feel like lots of digestive issues. So, it's like, I don't know if you have a history of asthma or smoking or something that would cause you not be able to breathe deeply or getting over something. But I also feel like ignoring there's the physical aspect of it. And I also feel like having a lot of gut issues. So that's the actual physical aspect of it. But then if I look at that spiritually, symbolically, what does that feel like to me? It feels like you do enough. So when I say you don't breathe deeply enough, we all breathe enough to sustain our life, because otherwise we would not be here in this moment. But it's like you aren't consciously breathing for your soul. So literally I could put it. And then also just ignoring your heart chakra. It's I'm if I don't allow someone in, no one can hurt me. If I don't allow my feelings out, nobody can hurt me. It's if I just ignore what's going on, then it's stick my head in the sand. I don't have to deal with any heartache or pain. But then on the same flip side, if I don't heal all of that, then I don't open myself up to being able to be loved and to fully love myself and fully receive. Solar plexus is how you relate to the world, how the world relates to you, and your self-esteem. And it felt so tight. And even tight all the way down into my root chakra, where it's that's kind of about your stability, right? Your connection to earth. You have a history of asthma. Okay. Yeah. So the thing to remember there is, and I know this is super easier said than done. You can trust yourself. So, and you're strong enough to whatever. So it's the example I'm feeling that I should share is if you have if you've had a history of a narcissistic relationship or an emotionally abusive relationship, you missed the red flags, right? You missed them because not because you're an idiot or a dummy, right? Maybe a little bit naive because you treat people well, so you just expect people to treat you well, right? You just well, I would never do that to someone. Why would anybody behave that way? But when someone is looking for that is like that, they're targeting you in a way. They're trying to see if you're going to put up with their shit so they can just behave poorly. But the thing is yeah, you may have ignored the red flags or not even really known they were red flags in the past, but you know now. And even if you start to get into a relationship with somebody like that, you'll get out of it quicker. You won't be trapped or duped again. And that only comes with like when you see people who are married multiple times and they're like, oh, men are all the same or women are all the same. It's like, well, you didn't do any of the healing work to change the self concept so that you so you bring in better quality. If you don't do that work, you're going to keep getting the same thing because that's what you're going to keep attracting. I keep hearing like, you don't have to worry, you don't have to be afraid. I do feel like there's some gut dysbiosis issues. Like slow digestion. And I also feel like discomfort after I eat. Made my one daughter a shake, and I made this mistake of tasting it because now I'm like, um, so look into like ways to naturally treat leaky gut and heal your intestines. That's like one thing you could do. And then also just, I don't know why corn keeps like showing. It's corn. Big with knobs. Um, Maybe wheat. And there's lots of good alternatives too. My kids will sing it. And the thing is like, it's not like I'm playing TikTok for them. They can hear it from kids at school. And then my 5-year-old cracks me up because she just sings it wrong. Like completely wrong. I mean, not completely. Sorry, I spit all over myself. That's so awesome. But a lot wrong. I think it's funny. Okay. Oh, so I feel like they're just reassuring you. I'm sorry. I'm like, so what was the message? Um, I feel like they're just reassuring you that like you can trust in yourself. This may be a little personal, so I'm really sorry that I'm like, lots of women do this. So like, we're just going to get to it. Have you been a little bit preoccupied with saggy boobs? Because I just kept feeling like my boobs were sagging. And like what they're showing me is like it's not about getting like a boob job. It's really like if you would just work on building your pectoral muscles, like doing some shoulders, doing some like just some presses, some you can do floor presses, doing some things to build your pectoral muscles up. It'll help perk up your boobs. Sorry. Don't shoot the messenger. And let's move on. Joelle, if you have a question, or does that make sense? And sorry if I embarrassed you. You were thinking about that. Well, there you go. Come to me and we'll talk about saggy boobs. So there you go. You also want to know about saggy boobs? I'm just kidding. I would also like to know whatever my guide wants me to hear today. Okay. Okay, Joelle. All right. Oh, sorry, I just thought about my spray. Thought I might like it, but I don't know where it went. Okay. I keep feeling like I don't want to say you're disoriented, but it's this feeling of like, like I know you're going to like go do this, run this cafe and all that. It's like I know where I'm supposed to be and know where I'm supposed to go. But I have all this stuff to do and I don't know where to start. Like it just I feel like lost, disoriented in a way, like not having executive function issues. Like how do I begin the task? And getting distracted easily. And I feel like not getting enough sleep. There's nothing wrong with your brain. It's really just overextended and not really honoring where you're at. Don't feel guilty if you're like, I need a day off. Like, I need to just, or I need to take a nap. I need to rest. I need to recuperate. It's this feeling of like, you're, that saying you should and should all over yourself. It's just that feeling like you're like, I'm this age. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should also go out with my friends. I should also be having fun. Like, if I'm just chilling at home, then I'm just like, I'm not doing what I should be doing at this age, or I don't know. Just they're literally like, that's just a story we tell ourselves, right? Like that's just a construct. Like I'm sort of like, I don't want to say I'm getting more cynical, but I'm sort of looking at everything like, oh, look at this. Like this is all just a construct. We like create chaos for ridiculous reasons. And I mean, just, generally speaking, the royal we, not, but and not cynical in a bad way, just like kind of like the world's absurd. Like we were so horribly hard on ourselves for no reason. Like, I don't know. So I just feel like needing to honor to like give yourself the permission to rest, give yourself the permission to like maybe even just be a bit of a hermit. And also remember that like you can't accomplish it all at once. So just take one thing and just knock out one thing. Hack away at it. And stop putting like this pressure on yourself to be like, I'm supposed to be somebody according to who. I have a friend now who I think we were like 25 or 26 at the time. And I was still in Houston and a whole bunch of us got together around, everybody would get to, be home Thanksgiving, Christmas time. So we were all getting together and we were at a bar having a drink, and she was like, I'm still in school, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you're working. Like I was a nurse at the time. And I'm like, yeah, but like, like that's your journey. This is mine. Like, who cares? Who cares where you're at and where I'm at? Like, are you happy? Are you like doing what you want to be doing? Like, who gives a shit? Like, you don't have to be married. You don't have to have kids. You don't have to be like, just do what brings you joy. I've never, ever, ever connected with a spirit on the other side where they've said, like, I wish I would have, like, had this amount of money, or, it's always like literally like, or even when I talk to old people in my first job in a nursing home, I would always ask them, like, it's like, well, I wish I would have been less afraid to follow my dreams, or I wish I would have told people I loved them more. I wish I would have laughed more. I wish I would have like not been so hard on myself. Like, it's always that kind of stuff. It's not like, I wish I would have hustled more so I could have made $8 billion. It's like, just enjoyed life more. So like, it's a lot, but I feel like just knowing like, I'll get there. It's going to be okay. And I don't need to do it the way everybody else is doing it. And also the judgments of like what it's like stop listening to other people so much. Like, what just came to mind was like the way people will get on. I'm mostly on TikTok where people will get on there, and I haven't filmed anything in a while, and I don't know, I got to get out of my rut. But like, I listen to them, especially because my daughter has autism, and it's like, we can't self-diagnose. I'm like, well, thanks to these creators, I was able to figure out that my daughter was autistic and like go to the people and say, I need her to get evaluated. And everybody's like, what? No way. And yeah, I pretty much diagnosed her before I for a lot of things throughout my life. Like, I went in college and was like, oh, and the doctor's like, feeling for my lymph nodes. He's like, well, I'd be surprised. He's very dismissive and condescending towards me. And then he came back after he tested me. He's like, well, I'll just test you. Because I think he wanted to be like, I knew what I'm doing. He's like, oh, I'm surprised you have it. I'm like, motherfucker, I know my body and I know how to rule shit out, even at that age. So trust yourself. Stop looking for somebody to tell you that you're valuable or you're worthy, or like, yes, you have permission now to like relax and chill the fuck out. And that doesn't make you lazy. Just because it's okay to like love yourself enough to give yourself rest. And like, just to like who you are without having to jump through hoops or wear the right clothes. God, I don't know. I wish everybody wore uniforms. It would just make my life easier. I could wear the same shit every day. Like, I do kind of wear the same shit every day until I wear holes in them. And I wash them, but like, I wear the same like 2 pairs of pants. And then I like get, and I kind of get tired of them. And then I like wear 2 different pants. I would probably be like, if I was ever followed by paparazzi, they'd be like, there she is again. I would probably be made fun of a lot. I don't subscribe to whatever that is. It's not me. Also, I found earrings that hang that don't bother me, and that's fun. Okay, so I'll move on. I'm rambling and all of that good stuff. You guys are so sweet to sit here and hang here and listen to me. Steph, if you want to go. Don't you also think the whole clothing thing is just such a fucking sham? Like, this is in, this is out. Like, I mean, I'm just cool people have clothes on, honestly. I don't want to see like, it's not like I don't think there's nothing wrong with naked bodies or anything like that. I don't need to see them. I feel like that's like I don't know, surprise. Like, I don't know. I just don't need to see everybody's body parts, but whatever. Like where it's appropriate, I suppose. Beach. Like I find it weird. I have to be honest when I see people like the rare times where I've seen people like in the summer when they don't have their shirt on in the city or something like that, where I'm like, should I have clothes on? No shirt, no shoes, no service. I also think it's super gross when I've seen people like take their like be barefoot in New York City. I'm like, okay. Having a tough time at work. Do I stay or move? My future career look bright, or my current company? Having a hard time finding my happiness in general work life. Okay, so last two readings, you've been speaking to me as well. So this is what I think. I think everybody shows up who needs to hear kind of the same messages. And I've talked to a lot of other readers about that, like where when you do group readings, it's always like there's always kind of a collective energy that like it's the right people show up for the right thing. And also what happens too is a lot of readers are like, oh, I'm doing a lot of readings and like this is the focus and this is the theme right now. It's really interesting the way it happens that way. And you go through periods where it just is. Hi, Veronica. So let's talk about, because I feel like this is just like a kind of general spiritual concept rather than like a specific, like you're the only one who goes through this. Like, I think this is like for everybody. And I've seen this a lot in readings. I'm going to give you examples where I've had clients where they're like, I'm really unhappy. I need to move across the country. And I'm like, that's not going to change you. Like, it doesn't matter your location. If you aren't happy, all of the same shit and difficulties that you have will show up at the new location. So if you're unhappy at work, anywhere outside of yourself, and the Buddhists say this as well, find peace within first, and then everything falls together outside of you. So I worked a lot of really shitty jobs, especially as a nurse. And people were like, you come in every day, like no big deal. Like you don't mind that person was rude and you don't mind that. And I'm like, because I'm here to take care of these kids. That's my job. And the rest of that shit doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, they do not determine who I am as a person. And my job is to take care of these kids. So I don't give a shit about all that. I always said too, like I wanted to float. I never liked to work on permanent units. When I was doing travel nursing, I liked to float. Then I didn't have to deal with any of the drama. Like I really just wanted to go to work. Probably an autistic trait. It wasn't that I don't like people or that I'm mean or rude. I just like when people were like fucking off, I was like, we're supposed to be working. Black, white thinking. Okay, so you're having a hard time finding your happiness. So I highly recommend, because I think this is really good. And when I get into little funks, I'm like, I need to like re-zhuzh up my self-concept. So what follows I am, the phrase I am, is extremely important. And if you don't believe me, start paying attention to what you say in the morning when you wake up. What is following I am? Or throughout the day, even in jest. So when people are like, oh, I'm the worst at this, or I'm such a loser, I'm like, your subconscious does not know the difference between reality and shit you're just pouring in, or a joke. Like, does not. It just computes as whatever this is, I'm following through with it. I am is the command phrase, and I must follow through with whatever follows out after that. And this idea, the law of assumption, shows up in texts, shows up in the Bible. It's not like put out positive and be positive, because like we have a world with negative shit for a reason, right? To give you an idea of like a comparison. Oh, this kind of sucks. Oh, well, then what do I need to fix and heal? So you're in that sucky phase. And that's good, because now you know how to, like, you can look at where your triggers are at and how you can heal it. So why are you unhappy at work? This is a project for you to, you don't have to answer. This is all rhetorical. You can all think of this as if you're going through this. Why are you unhappy at work? What makes you unhappy? Is it that one person that never does their job and you always feel like you have to do their work for them? Why do you feel like you have to always fix things for other people? Why is that your job? You can look at it in a spiritual sense. If God or the universe is totally okay with free will and totally okay with somebody wallowing in their own shit, why is it your job to fix it for them? It's not. And that doesn't make you a terrible, horrible, selfish person. It just makes you realize boundaries and that everything is not your responsibility. And that's sort of like okay and healthy. It took me a long time to learn this and not shit all over myself when I decided to not pick up after everybody all the time. Or trying to fix everybody. Like they also need to learn to fix themselves. That's where they become empowered. So something that really helped me was then like, and it'll feel weird when you first start doing it and you'll be like, oh, this is so lame because I don't really believe it, but that's okay because eventually you will believe it. I am beautiful. I am valuable. I am worthy. I am deserving. And I'm not deserving because I earned it or I got a degree or I put so many hours in at work. I'm just deserving of kindness and respect and happiness because I exist. Everybody deserves that. Everybody. Every person on this world deserves kindness and respect simply because they exist. Even the shitty asshole people that you don't like. So I am valuable, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, I am lovable, I am loved, I love myself. Even if you don't believe it, say it. When I do connect with spirits on the other side, the things that they tell me are, I wish I would have been kinder to myself. You would never, ever, 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 ever speak to anybody else the way that you speak to yourself. So that golden rule of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself is also true of the reverse. Do unto yourself as you would do to others. Like be kind to yourself the way you would be kind to others. Be forgiving of yourself the way you would forgive others. Give yourself room for imperfections the way you give others room for imperfections. This idea of hating your body because it's not a specific type is really fucking weird, because no one is supposed to be cachectically thin. That idea of like, I should be able to see my collarbone and also all of my intercostal spaces all the way down is not healthy. That is complete eating, disordered eating, disgusting behavior, and created probably by some man who likes a child's body. Women are meant to have curves. Sorry. So stop hating on yourself. Stop hating on yourself if you're not perfect. There is no idea of perfect. So start saying mantras. I am lovable. I am loved. I love myself. I am kind. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am funny. I've got great ideas. My opinions matter. My feelings matter. Good things happen to me all the time. Just start saying it. Good things happen to me all the time. I am safe. I'm protected. I trust myself. I am capable and able to keep myself safe. Yes, I'm gonna get there. Or that's like kind of where, or sorry, Steph. So this is, yes, I feel like this is part of what you need to hear. Don't worry, I'm gonna still get to the other stuff. So start with that. I do feel like you'll have a job change, but it feels about 3 months out. It doesn't feel immediate. Um, and I don't know that you're working for, so it may not. I'm giving an example. It may not be exactly like this, but this is the feeling I get of either I'm working in a totally different department, so then like it's almost like a separate company, or like I work in one company, but I'm going to work for another company, but it's still under the parent umbrella of these companies. So I know that there's an advertising agency, and I only know this, my husband's in construction and they've done work in the building where there's like several different advertising agencies in one building, and they're all underneath the umbrella of a larger advertising agency. So it'd be like I work in this one here and I'm moving to this one here. I don't necessarily feel like I do feel like a lot of the I feel like you have some insecurities about yourself, like that imposter syndrome feeling. And so that energy gets projected out of feeling uncertain about myself. And so then when I express my opinions or I express like my ideas, there's one male in particular that I just don't feel like, I feel like he's dismissive of what I'm saying. And it's sort of this other idea of like, stop worrying about hurting someone's feelings because it's business, it's not personal. Like, you don't have to be an asshole, but you don't have to be like tiptoeing around trying to protect everybody when you come out with your ideas. You're welcome, Veronica. Does that make sense when I say that stuff? Or does that resonate? I know you understand. I manage the president is volatile. Okay. He's not professional when he's lashing out at me and not oft. I think he's a narcissist. Probably. I will tell you that, like, I remember my father telling me a story. He was like a manager in whatever he did. And I remember him telling a story, and I don't speak to him anymore because I don't. He's not a good person to be around. But I remember him telling me like that he yelled at somebody at his work. Like he really tore him a new asshole, is sort of the way he put it. And I remember like he looked so excited about having yelled at this person at work, like and really putting them in their place. And I just was like, that's fucking weird that he like would get off on that. Like that was like a and I'm sure he'd deny this if I said, but that was like that's what I read when I sat there and watched him and saw like this glint of like that felt so good to be able to do that. Um, and some people are like that. Like it gives them a huge power rush to be able to treat people like shit. So it just feels like I do feel like you'll move. Does it make sense to be under a parent company or like where you move to a different division or something? No, you should never treat anybody that way. Um, and I will tell you that that level of unprofessionalism is probably not that uncommon. Okay. I don't think it's that uncommon. And I wish I could be like, oh, he's gonna like leave, whatever. But like, it's like the tenure is there, and so they won't unless that becomes like a issue. It's a very large company. Okay. But it feels like 3 months or so, or there's a 3. So I could be wrong. It could be 3 weeks, but I'm leaning more towards after the first of the year. But the other part is that have confidence in yourself. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. That's a feeling. It. Have confidence in yourself that you have good ideas, that you're not doing anything wrong. So stand in your power. And it doesn't mean like, it's like when people on here, like when I first started doing readings, people would be like, well, maybe you mean this, right? And I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe, I guess. And then I was like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm the one getting the message. So it may not make sense to you. And it took me a long time to go, it may not make sense now. And I'm okay with being wrong, but I'm sticking by what I'm saying, because more often than not, I have had people come back to me and go, oh, like you were right. And it took me a long time to feel confident enough in myself to do that. And I sort of just had to have it where I was like, it's okay to stand up for yourself, and it's okay to be like, yeah, but I know I'm right. Like, and you can say, well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like that's okay for me to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Here's my ideas. And he may have a lot of experience. But I can tell you I had 0 experience in medicine, and I made a comment in a surgery when I was in high school doing a shadow project with a nurse, and she was like, shh, don't talk. And then the doctor literally started doing what I suggested, where I was like, he was removing like a calcification in somebody's shoulder, and it was really brittle and breaking apart. And he was trying to be like ever so ginger. And I was like, why wouldn't you just like pull it all out? The whole shoulder is going to have to really heal anyway. Like what? Because my thought process was, this is where like, again, I'm way too direct and probably like whatever. But my thought process was you're more like, the bigger thing is how long somebody's under anesthesia, right? Because they're going to have to heal from that wound anyway. And it was not a microscopic surgery. It was a full open shoulder. And I was like, why wouldn't you just like that? All that muscle is going to have to heal anyway. And he just started. There was no conversation between us, but my point is like, sometimes somebody's going to see something from a different perspective, new or not, and it may actually work, and it may actually be something cool. And like, listen, I'm not saying I'm smarter than a doctor. It was just this random thought that came to me when I was sitting there like a curiosity, and I opened my mouth. So it just feels like have more confidence in yourself, because you may not have experience he has, but you have a very valid and different experience because of the life that you lived and the perspective you're coming from as a woman. And we can see things differently because we experience the world differently, and you might not be so wrong. Okay. Come back here and tell me when you get your new job. I can't wait to hear about it. Oh, or are you paid for a second question? Okay, so I need to add you back to the back end of that. You're very welcome, Steph. Okay, I see that now. Okay, sorry, dearie. Autumn, and then I'll add Aura in there. Okay. All right. Devry, I'm sorry. I didn't spell your name right there. Forgive me, dear. I can't edit it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Devry, what's your, there you go. My love Virginia, the big weight off my shoulders, but as of recently, I felt and heard this thing. Well, I'm back, not sleeping again. Why is it so? I think it's just in your mind. I got to be honest. I think that part of that is just in your mind, and it's that fear. So our fears can create the energetic experience. So because you went through it, like our fears can literally create energy in that experience. So it's like literally you need to go back into the do affirmations, even listen to affirmations at night. I am powerful. I am safe. I am protected. I am kind. I am wonderful. Good things always happen to me. You know, it might not hurt also. So your cortisol levels might be up just from stress. So it's like, before you go to bed at night, make sure you like turn off all your devices and stuff and spend some time just doing some nice deep breathing. Yeah. So that fear can actually, like what we think about, what we believe, we bring about. So that can actually pull energetic experiences. Don't be afraid to go to sleep. You can spray your room before you go to sleep at night with a little bit of the frankincense essential oil spray, sleep with a rock, whatever you need to do to feel comfortable, or you can even grid around your bed with smoky quartz or black tourmaline. You can grid and selenite and black tourmaline. Just do it around your bed when you go to sleep at night. Know that you're safe and protected. You've created a grid around you. You can put even a bowl of salt water under your bed, and you can leave it there and like for 24 hours and then flush it down the toilet twice. Those are practices that people do. Sometimes it's not these rituals that I'm telling you, it's not that like they're so powerful. It's really that they give us something to physically put our belief system in that we're doing. So, but then it's just like, I am safe. I am protected. I no longer am connected to this. The universe always takes care of me and keeps me safe. Um, and I understand that that experience would be very unnerving. Yeah, I don't feel like I just feel like it's like needing to shift your thoughts and really just start believing yourself and like, but I am safe here. I am okay. Everything's been fine. It's sort of calming your ego. Okay. Rock Dawn, Autumn, and Aura, if you guys want to go. If you want to ask your question. My goodness, time flew by. Talk about time blindness. I know. I wouldn't want to spend so much time at the hospital either. They're no fun. Um, I don't feel a full-time work from home. I feel like part-time working from home. So I feel like maybe 2 days a week I have, and the rest I get to work from home. And I do feel like doing something like, have you gotten cloud certifications or something like that? I should put my getting a certificate, planning on it. Yeah, because it feels like doing that. And then, so then I'm doing, and so maybe initially I'm working, I have to go in a little bit. And I feel like maybe by the second half of the year, being able to work home full time. I also feel like you'll be doing something where you're on the phone a little bit, helping people. So you might be helping troubleshoot things on the phone a little bit too, from the computers. I don't see love, but it's not that I don't think it's possible. I just feel like energetically you're not in a place to put yourself out there really. And I actually don't see you at the hospital that much. Are they currently, I feel like they're either planning or they're gonna to move dad to like a rehab facility or like a kind of like a nursing home, not a hospital, but like somewhere where he gets nursing care. Second care. Yeah. You have nurses at home. Okay, because I'm like, I feel like I'm not in the hospital. Like so it's like I feel like I'm getting a break from that. Well, he's kind of a curmudgeon. Like he's a little grumpy. He's not the funnest patient. Um, he complains more than he's actually sick. So it's so much worse for him than anyone else. But then there's other things where he's like, no, no, don't do that. Leave me be. He can't make up his mind if he wants to be sick and taken care of or wants like to be independent. And I don't feel like that's dementia. I feel like that's just um I don't feel like the cancer will spread. I feel like it's localized. Uh, It's not like a stage 4. It's not a stage 1. It's probably like it might be like a 3, very early 3, like just slightly in a lymph node or 2, but not like crazy. Am I right that it's a prostate or something lower? I keep being brought to like the lower region. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's not like it might be in a like a lymph node or 2, but it hasn't spread. He's gonna be okay. Okay. Okay, so let's move on then. You're welcome, sweetie. Autumn and Aura, you guys had another question. Your question's in the PayPal. Okay, thank you. Oh, do I have psychic abilities or gifts? If so, what are they and how can I improve? Okay. If someone didn't know what I was doing and they just clicked on this, they'd be like, why is she sleeping? That is so weird. Okay, so I feel like you're gonna lean towards probably your stronger ones are like clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience or sentience, whatever you want to say. But I feel like clairsentience is still like a bit wonky and out there. It's got like nausea, so I might feel some other. So, like, I don't know if somebody actually feels nauseous or if I feel nauseous because they have yucky energy. Like, I just feel like, ugh, but I don't know. I don't have a dictionary for what that means yet, right? No description to understand what that meaning is. So, I can go through and I figured out when I first started feeling it, I was like, oh, I have anxiety. But then I learned that, like, really, anxiety is like just a blanket term. Like, where do you feel it in your body? How do you feel it? Is this a low level generalized anxiety or is this a social anxiety? So I did one of the ladies that I read for um, at that event, oh, anxiety. And she's like, I do. And she was like apologizing for it. I'm like anxiety is anxiety. Like you cannot, that's not something anybody chooses to have. No need to like feel bad about it or like you create it. You don't create that. Like that shit just comes up. So it just feels like not like I would feel that, but I like it doesn't feel like I'm as tuned into it. Clairvoyance would be like I have dreams that come true. I have dreams where, or it's like I don't feel like you might see shadows, but I feel like you sort of dismiss them or like, oh, that could, that's. But I don't feel like you see on full on apparitions or anything like that. I would lean more towards dreams being real. Um, so clairaudience would feel like to me maybe sometimes I feel like I hear my name called or hear somebody talking or footsteps or whatever. But more often, the way I might sense that if I were you is as I fall asleep at night and I'm sort of in that between that sleep wake state, I might hear talking or hear somebody call my name or say hello and just think, oh, I'm just like I'm really sleepy. So that's must be my imagination or I'm like in that half sleep wake state and not really giving it much weight. You can what? Because there's a little bit of a delay, I think, I assume, because there usually is. Your deep dreams do come true. Yep. You hear things. Okay. So I like my clairaudience. They're all so here's the thing. Your guides and spirit, anything that's not embodied, they're way more respectful of boundaries. You just have to set them and decide what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So I don't like movement of objects in my house. I think it's just unnerving and unnecessary. There's a million other ways to talk to me and get my attention. That's not the way I like it. I know someone who's like, I fucking love watching doors open. I'm like, that freaks me the fuck out. Um, so sometimes falling asleep until you recognize that they're connecting with you in clairvoyance, which would be like picture after picture after picture, scene after scene, thought after thought after thought after thought before you fall asleep. I used to think, and that can be attributed to ADHD, but once I started doing a reading and connecting in, I realized, oh, like that's like spirit actually talking to me. That has nothing to do, that's that. Um, so then on those nights, which that doesn't happen anymore because they know they can talk to me throughout the day, and I'm like literally always talking to my guides. Um, I was kind of like, hey, hit me up in my dreams. That's what I would say when I was having that, when I was trying to get adjusted to it. I was like, hit me up in my dreams because I need sleep. I'm a human body and like I cannot be awake forever and ever. I need sleep. Staying asleep, I would attribute more to like, so I find this interesting. Like people like, oh, the witching hour, you wake up at the witching hour. Well, there's a couple reasons you might do that because I straddle the science world and whatever. So part of it could be that you're having a blood sugar drop. So you need to eat before you go to bed, like have something that has a little fat, a little protein, and a little carb. Like so some yogurt with some granola or something proteiny. And I say that and I can't eat yogurt, so I have to find other things. But because first of all, the fat in it holds your blood sugar a little bit longer. It takes a longer to digest. Same thing with the protein. And then you don't get that glucose drop spike, all that stuff. It's like a more even keeled. That may be what's going on, especially if that's a consistent every night. I'm waking up about this time and it's not stopping. Usually when it's spirit, that's more sporadic. There's not that consistency of like all the time. That can be anxiety too. And again, so you can look at what like vitamin shifts and stuff. So like one thing I did, if you already take a multivitamin that has folic acid in it, just change your multivitamin and instead of it having folic acid to have methylated folate. So folic acid is a synthetic form of folate. You're going to be taking something that has the natural form of folate in it. There are some people that do not absorb synthetic folate well. And if you have a folate deficiency, even if you're taking a shit ton of folic acid, if it's not methylated folate, you're not going to absorb it. You're at more risk for anxiety. And they've found studies, and you can look this up on your own, do what you want. I am not telling you to do this. I'm just saying, just look into this because this is something where it's not, and as long as it's okay with your doctor or whatever, but they've found studies that like if you take a larger amount of methylated folate, then it crosses the blood-brain barrier and it helps with anxiety. So just saying. Also, lack of sleep and stress can cause anxiety and waking up at that time of the morning. And like looking at your diet in general and inflammation and all of that stuff. There's a lot of different things that I've changed that have helped me sleep better through the night. I know with my daughter, this is a crazy thing, but all of my kids, I've started them on the methylated folate because looking at my history while I was pregnant, looking at some things that popped up. My daughter has really weak enamel on her teeth, and that can be a sign of not getting enough folate in utero. And so if I am not absorbing enough folate, then she can't get enough folate, all of that stuff, even though I was taking vitamins, yada, yada, yada. So I've got like her on it now, like she can tolerate dairy and she's like never really tolerated dairy at all. So it's quite fascinating. I don't know, that one, I can't find anything to stick to it. It's just a interesting clinical observation. Anyway, worth looking into. But also you can just be like, I need to sleep through the night. Let me sleep. Now, how do you develop it? Acknowledge it. Don't just be like, oh, that didn't happen. Well, that's just a weird coincidence. Like, fucking acknowledge it. Go back and write a list down of all the things where your intuition was real. The dreams that you had, even if you didn't listen to it, the dreams that you had about X, Y, and Z happened, and I didn't follow through with it, but it happened. So they will never do anything that's going to scare you. I used to be freaked out and be like, I don't want to see any full-on apparitions. Well, I see them like kind of a lot more now. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm seeing color now instead of like the water horse from Frozen 2 or the spirit horsey thing. Set your boundaries. Like it's okay to know what you're comfortable with and what you aren't comfortable with. They don't want to scare you. And that's also a very Christian idea that like, oh, they're gonna like the demons are gonna come after you. I'm like I've seen some freaky shit, but also they're kind of like toddlers where you just have to like really be like, go away. And like toddlers like don't want to do stuff all the time. Like I just want to do what I want to do. And you're like, you need to go away. And you have to be persistent and consistent and insistent. You don't have to state your boundaries. That's the other thing is like you could just be like, I'm not cool with that. And like all in your head. Because think about all the times where people talk about connecting with spirit. Like you don't see me here talking to them, but I'm having a full conversation. I can like it's like the amount of information that I get in a short time when I watch these back and I'm like, I got so much more information than I ever spoke. And while that was really quick, I got so much information in a short period of time. But like my recommendation is always like write down what you're getting, even if you don't listen to it, because the more and pay attention to how you feel when you get it. Because the more you can pay attention to that, the more you can be aware when it's coming in and be like, oh, the last time this happened and I felt this. So like before I used to sit down to do readings, I'd get a lot of anxiety about them. And then I realized like, oh, that was just like, I heard somebody say like, oh, I know when I get anxiety, that's spirit coming in. I'm like, okay, I can attribute that to that. And then once I got really comfortable doing these, I don't get that anymore. I don't get that fluttery, nervousy, anxious feeling anymore. I'm just like, all right, Pavlov's dog. I sit in this chair all the time. I do readings like that. And then I used to like, so we tell ourselves a story about, oh my God, I can't do this because, and we make up a story of why we can't do something or why something's impossible. And we limited ourselves. And then, so like, but like the more you get comfortable in doing something, the less scary it is, right? When you started piano lessons, I don't know if you really started piano lessons, but the first time you start anything new, you're like, oh, I'm really nervous about this. This is scary. And like you have in your head, an idea of like what's going to happen or how it's supposed to feel or how it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's just practice. It's like getting comfortable with it. And that's the best way I can teach you to practice, like where you don't have somebody to give you feedback. That's why I like those. I do psychic development circles. I haven't done one in a while. I may open one up because I have a couple people asking about it. The reason why I do them is because really the best way for you to grow in your ability is to practice. It's not like you can read as many fucking books as you want. And that's the same thing when I was a nurse. I could read about disease processes and how to set things up or whatever, but it didn't click to me until I was physically doing it. Sit there and do what? You can connect in with a meditation and just even ask your guide, set an intention to connect in. Like, I want information about X, Y, and Z, pick whatever you want. I don't care. Or when something happens, just acknowledge it. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for helping me out. So sometimes I'll get information, even when my kids were like little babies, they'd be like, bring some extra clothing today. There's going to be a blowout. I'm like, okay. They remind me to pack stuff, which sounds weird, but they remind me of things. And I know it's not me and it's like a guide. It's totally different. I used to get an intuition about knowing 15 minutes before my kids were going to wake up, I could see them very clearly in my head. And then 15 minutes later, they were awake. So it was like, I was getting a little warning, like a little, get ready. Show's on in 15. Yeah, you can ask a free random question, Debbie. You're here so much. And then I think Aura has one more too. It is going to be sporadic, but I bet it's not as sporadic as you think. I just think that you probably aren't as well versed in paying attention to all the things. So I used to not be aware of like how many physical things I did. I would just like sit there and do stuff and not pay attention to like, it wasn't until it clicked to me. I was like, oh, they were like, pay attention to what you're doing. I was like, oh, why am I rubbing my legs? What's going on with your legs? Or like, oh, do you fidget a lot? Or one reading I did with a woman, I had one of these, I love sucking on these Ricolas. I don't know why. It's just like a thing now. I stopped and I actually physically took it out of my mouth. I just set it on this little table here, which is kind of gross and disgusting, whatever. And I mean, the table's not, but like I just left it there and I had to clean it afterwards. But I was like, oh, you have sensory issues. Cause I immediately could like hear it rattling and it was so loud rattling around in my mouth. And I thought, oh, I need to stop doing that. And she's like, I absolutely do. And that is one of the things. When will your financial situation get better? June. There's a shift in February and I heard June very loud. So something happens in February that changes it. And then June, I feel more secure. So I don't know if you get a raise or if you get a bonus around February or what. But I feel like June, I feel much better. It feels like big change, difference. I don't know if that resonates at all, Laura. Sometimes when I'm randomly rambling, I just like everything hits right away, really clear. That also happens when I have conversations, just friends. Okay, Deborah, what's your question? That was random. Another related question. Sometimes when I touch or bump someone, I can feel their energy. There's not an exchange. It's just like, I mean, anytime somebody sends me a text message, I get more than what their text message is. It's not an exchange. I don't know how to explain it. It's not like you've lost anything because energy is infinite. Think of it like this. It's like if you're really, really far away from someone, you can see there's a person there and you might be able to make out that they're female or male, and you can probably make out the color of their hair and like basically like the main colors of their clothing, but you won't know if there's details there or like maybe how their hair is fixed or whatever, or they're like, whatever, until you get closer. So the reason why you feel energy is because like you're just close enough to connect that way. But I will tell you, the more you're probably feeling more energy from people than you realize. It's just, that's one of those moments where you can't ignore it. So I know that I'm incredibly sensitive to people's energy. So I was depressed for 3 weeks when I lived in Hoboken, and it turned out that my neighbor, his mom had died like when I started becoming really depressed. And I was like, this is weird. I don't understand why I'm depressed. Like this doesn't fit. There's no reason. So I didn't, and it wasn't until like I ran into him. He was like, oh, my mom died 3 weeks ago. I've been really depressed. We shared a wall, but I don't like, whatever. I will pick up stuff randomly about friends and be like, last week I texted someone who lives out in California who I don't even really know her that well, but she's very kind and I really enjoy her as a person. And it was just kind of like check on her. And she was going through the process of, her friend was in hospice and was passing. And she was, was like, oh, I just randomly felt like I should ask and see how you're doing. Say hi. Like I was like, you were crossing my mind. There was no any other inkling. So, and then she started just kind of asking about what is it like when somebody dies? Like what happens? So I don't know. When you're sensitive, you're going to pick stuff up like that. And like, I encourage you, if you get a friend that says like, if you get a feeling or you get all of a sudden a friend pops in, I always go, you popped in my head. I just wanted to say hello. And then I just leave it. Because I figure there's a reason I should reach out and they'll let me know if they need a friend or they just nice to know that they're being thought of. Some people just need that too. Oh, fuck. Sorry, I was reading Deborah's question. Any news about the GOP and Senate next week in regards to midterms? You're not going crazy. Listen, I went through a lot of that of like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? No, I'm not. And then also There's a lot of people who will gaslight you when you're really intuitive and you say something and be like, I'm like, okay, but I'm right with everybody else. Like, I'm all of a sudden wrong with you. Come on, motherfucker. So you'll run that, or people try to like tell you you're crazy afterwards because they're mad at you and they're just can't, they're just going to be a child about it instead of dealing with whatever feelings they're having. They're just going to be nasty. I shouldn't even say a child because my children aren't like that. But you're not going crazy. And sometimes you're going to pick up stuff on people and they're not going to want to talk about it. And they're not going to be able to validate it for you. And you're just going to have to go, well, it wasn't mine because I didn't feel it before I connected with that person. So I just got to leave it on the table like that. It's probably theirs and I won't necessarily get a validation on it. Okay. Or was that answer okay for you? Did you get that answer? All right, Devry. Which races do you want to look at? Because there's a lot of stuff going on. Let me see if I can like do a little googly schmoogly. So I think I'm looking at now. My first one I'm looking at is, you're welcome, Autumn. So the Senate, I feel like one seat over, like they might gain one seat. So I think right now it's like neck and neck. And so the vice president always breaks the tie. And I feel like I might pick up one seat. Like, I don't feel like I'm picking up a whole bunch, but I feel like I'm a little bit more. I always hate doing these predictions. I don't know why. I just don't feel as comfortable with doing these ones. I think because I feel the people and I'm like, oh, I like theirs better. And it's not like looking at, it's very hard for me to be objective. So when I look at like Beto and Abbott in Texas, I feel like something's going to happen where it's not going to be a clear cut initial, this guy's the winner. I feel like they're going to have to go into, like, it's going to take a little bit for them to come up with a number. And that, I don't want to say like that's a good thing in the sense that like that means more people are out there voting. Let me look at what the races are in Georgia and Florida. I'm sorry. Let's see. Who's the female that's running for governor? What's her name? I think she's going to win there. I do feel like things are going to swing more Democrat. Ohio will stay Republican. DeSantis, I heard out, but I'm never strong about these. I don't ever feel really good. Yeah, Stacey Abrams, I saw her. I just couldn't think of her name. A Dem. I feel like a Dem will gain a seat. So I feel like Florida is going to become more purple than it is red now. So I feel like it's going to be more of a purple. they've just done some weird gerrymandering there. So it's like, but the whole thing about taking away women's rights, and also they're realizing that it's really about privacy. It's not so much about rights, but it's your right to privacy. Um, a lot more people are not okay with that. But there's still enough right wingers that are, yeah. So it feels like the Dems are in control, but it feels like it's going to be really kind of rocky until like 2026, 2028 here. I got to be honest. Like, remember I talked about that a long time ago? Like 2026 would be like this pivotal. It's going to kind of suck. It's going to suck before it gets better. 2026, 2028, 2030 are like where it starts to get better. Sorry. So how do you manifest a good outcome? Number one, I've never done early voting in New Jersey, and I went today and voted. There was a lot of people there. And I know people are like, well, Republicans usually early vote, and there's a lot of old people there, but I was happy to see lots of people voting. DeSantis, I think so. I feel like he's got some legal troubles coming up for him. I don't know if it's money laundering or tax issues or something like that, but he's got something coming up for him. Okie dokie. I just say that is the vision I got all those years ago about Trump going and being arrested, like with hands behind his back with handcuffs. So I'm just sticking with that. I don't know beyond that. And I don't feel confident enough to be like, yes. I know the evidence is strong for him of doing illegal activities, but there's a lot of corrupt people out there. So but I did see him with his hands behind his back at the podium, like all the cameras and stuff. So we'll see if and when that happens. That guy on Twitter who apparently predicted the Queen's death by her date said something about November 18th. So that would be interesting. That's next Friday, not this coming Friday. So let's see what happens. Go out and vote if you haven't voted. I don't care what party you vote for. Just get your butt out there and exercise your right to vote. All right. I'm going to say good night. I will see you guys on Sunday, a week from today. Enjoy your weeks. All of you enjoy your week. That's probably better grammatically. Good night.